Home foreclosures are also down year to year. CoreLogic says they dropped about 0.2 of a percentage point to about 1.5%. Nationally, the foreclosure rate is more than twice that. So that's the residential side. Now let's talk commercial. Alan Wood is Vice President of Jones Lang LaSalle Americas, and John Bonnot is the Chamber's Business Recruitment Director. Gentlemen, thank you both very much.
Thank you
for coming here. Alan, let's start with the big picture. How is the commercial market?
Commercial market on a broad scale is recovering nationally. We see it a lot more here in the North Texas region, especially here in Las Colinas, where companies are expanding, they're growing, they're doing really well, which actually increases rental rates and makes everybody happy.
So, John, why is it so strong here in Irving? What's going on?
Well, I think the things that certainly our location, being in the metroplex, central of the metroplex, central time zone, next to DFW Airport, but even as importantly is our accessibility. We have, the new light rail having opened, the Trinity Rail, commuter rail, which connects Dallas and Fort Worth, and again DFW Airport and so forth. But we're just what we call a sweet spot in terms of the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. It's a very thriving marketplace, very well known, and again because of the corporate presence we have here too. So many Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies with a presence here are headquartered here. And so it's what we call a safe decision in terms of corporate relocation and decision making.
Do you hear those selling points echoed in your work with your clients? What do they say?
I do. There's been a real focus in the last few years about the dark orange line coming through. That's a major selling point. Also, the 161, the George Bush, has really opened up this area to the entire metroplex. So our clients are talking about how they can now recruit as far south as Mansfield. Right. They can recruit as far east as Garland. And so it makes the central location here just phenomenal as far as bringing good employees here, good amenities, great infrastructure in the city of Irving.
Always been a great location, but the accessibility, it's a different story now. It's so much improved.
It's radically improved, and then the accessibility to DFW is always a hot topic. So you can get anywhere in the country from this location all day long.
John, the Irving Chamber, describe for us how you're involved in the process. Do prospects call you when they're considering a move, or is it more recruitment from you? Probably a little bit of both?
Sure. Well, let me just share with you first, the City of Irving contracts with us to provide economic development services. So that's the marketing, the outreach we're doing, working with retention and expansion and so forth. But back to your question, it comes in a multitude of ways. A lot of our activity, a large portion of our activity comes through the brokerage community, Alan and his colleagues and cohorts and so forth, because they're out driving these projects, representing major corporate tenants, and so a lot of our, like I said, leads come through them. Some, there's some we self-generate ourselves. We have other allies like the Governor's Office of Economic Development projects that come through the state, looking at various metropolitan areas and so forth. So there's a drill down, and we get involved in that process as well. But the bulk of what we do is working with commercial real estate folks like that.
Phone rings a lot between offices back and forth.
Absolutely, yes.
A lot of communication.
You bet.
Alan, tell us about one specific client of yours, OneSource VHR. What's going on there? Tell me about
OneSource was a great story for the city of Irving. CFO called us, had an urgent problem. They were going from about 50 employees to 100.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem and very indicative of this region, with projections to be between 300 and 400 employees in the next 2 years. We looked at many suburban markets around town. They really honed in on Irving and Las Colinas because it offered them all the things that we just talked about. The infrastructure's here, access to DFW and Love Field, but also just an overall quality of life. It's the urban center here is truly the only urban setting in a suburban market. And so when we looked up north, we looked east, we looked downtown, we looked all over, they kept coming back to this is where they want to be.
Tell us about the company. What did they do?
Fast growing technology startup in the HR and outsourcing business. Big technology component, big consulting component, and a lot of really good people.
That's great. John, Anything else in the outlook for the future in your office that you could share with us today?
Well, I will tell you, we've just come off probably what I would call a banner year in terms of project activity that we have had our hands on, personal involvement in terms of job growth, in terms of investment in the community, and so forth. So it's been a great year, and we're already seeing the trend and the tracking moving forward for our current fiscal year, which began October 1. So I'm excited. I think we've got a great year in store. Another great year.
Gentlemen, it's nice to be talking about such bright prospects and such great news. Thank you both very much for joining us.
Thank you.